Catch your children when they are still in that alpha state between ages infancy and 7, maybe 8. This is according to neuroscience psychologists. Catch them when they're still in that alpha state of mind. These are the years that make up their personality. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Let that motorcycle pass me. Welcome back to my channel. You are watching De La Soul. Thank you for clicking on this video. What we're going to talk about today is something that comes up for me a lot, and I feel like there's just going to be some of you that can relate, some of you that can't, and some of you that can't yet. Like, you're watching this because you're going to have some kids one day. For all of you parents of adults and grandparents and great grandparents, I just want to apologize to you on behalf of everyone from my generation. Okay? We are sorry. Okay? Because if you are watching this and if you have teenagers, Lord, I understand. I understand them. I understand my older generation, my parents and grandparents who were on it with us, who were not like letting up, who we were just like, oh my God, like she always nagging, like she always telling us, bruh, it's really something. It's really something. This video was needed because the previous generations have epically failed at giving us the tea for what to expect, for really looking out for us. It's like when you hear about people say like, oh yeah, don't have kids because they're expensive. I feel like that's like the one piece of advice that we're always given. Don't have kids because they're expensive. Like, I'm talking about other details that can take a mental toll on you. And cleanliness, I'm telling y'all, for parents, if you have a toddler, if you have babies, if you have smaller children, you don't know this yet. Because right now, you're used to picking things up after them, right? You know that you have to do that. Who else is going to do it? I want to encourage you guys early. If you are parents that have young children, if you're not raising kids that have made it to 10 and up, basically, start now. Or I would say at about 8. At about 8 to 10, start now with teaching them to clean up. Like, I always had plans on giving my kids chores, but I definitely was saying the same thing that so many of parents my age are saying, where we're like, oh, but they're not going to do it right. They're not going to do it as good as I'm going to do it, so I'll just do it, stuff like that. Work on your patience. That's what that's about, because I'm so grateful that my father came in before it was even really time for me to get started on doing that, and was like, hey, it's about time for them to start doing chores for my ex-husband's son that I was raising at the time and my oldest son. My daughter was way too young, and Titus was a baby. So I'm just so grateful for that, because when I look around and I see families, sometimes, yes, with the husband in the house, and also sometimes single moms, it's just the stress levels that parents go through, because as you get older and you're no longer picking up after kids, like small children, it will affect your mental health. It is a thing, guys. I remember the exact day. I could tell y'all the exact month and year that I started to realize that them not cleaning up properly was beginning to take a mental toll on me. You're more irritated, and you are just not having it. You're just not feeling it. It can gradually begin to ruin your day. I know it sounds crazy. This sounds so crazy to me, because what you're not thinking about is how, like, when the kids are really young, they're doing like young stuff. So the cleanliness is different. They're not going into the bathroom by themselves and not flushing the toilet and using all the toilet paper. That's not happening at that age yet. They're not going into the kitchen and cooking a meal and leaving the kitchen a mess after you done already told them that they need to be cleaning as they cook. You see? You see, it's new stuff that they didn't tell us. They didn't tell us about this. I want to encourage you to first of all be accountable, because if you did not teach your children how to clean up young, you cannot be expecting them. If that was not a fully routine thing that you guys did all the time, if you didn't start doing that, you low key can't be expecting them to clean up like you do. You can't be expecting them to want to clean up. You can't be expecting you just can't have these expectations. You can't, because you weren't training them, right? That's one. Two, if you are not making a chart, if you are not making a chart for your children and you are coming home and taking everything so personal, you're feeling like they're doing this on purpose, they're out to get you, they just don't want to, they're just trying to disrespect you. If you're doing this, I want you to take some accountability, because charts matter. You can't tell me that you raised them up from a young age to do this consistently if they're totally struggling to do it today. Totally struggling. I'm not saying that they're not doing it at all, but I'm saying like there's some type of cleanliness going. It just might not be on the level that you like it to be if you've been raising them up from a young age to do this. But if you haven't and you're just now trying to instill this in them when they are reaching their teenage years or they're in their teenage years, then you're most definitely going to get some contrast. This is a part of your earthly parenting test, okay? This is a part of your test as a parent, your patience, your ability to be accountable, and to be able to be reflective. When my kids are doing something that I wish they weren't doing, um, something that I've told them not to do repeatedly or something, I will often say, like while I'm realizing that that's a thing, and I'm like, you guys haven't done this, da, 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 da. I'll say, but you know what? It's my fault. It's my fault. Because 9 times out of 10, I can always find where it was my fault because I didn't do something. I didn't stay on top of them enough long enough or enough. I didn't make it a routine thing. I didn't put a chart up. I didn't set an alarm. These are things that you have to do as a parent. You can't whip them into it. That doesn't work. And if it does, it causes trauma. And you cannot do it a couple times and then start to traumatize them with your verbal abuse and how irritated you are because they're not getting it right. It's a part of your parenting experience for you to repeat yourself and for you to find creative ways to show them how to stay on top of things. That's it. I love you. You're doing great. But this is a message. This is a message, Papa, Mama. This is a message because your voice is going to be your child's inner voice, and you got to make sure that you're not creating unnecessary damage because you're irritated because that's what your parents did to you. There's a thing. I'm making it very clear now. We know it. The cat's out the bag. There's a thing when it comes to cleanliness. You might not understand this now because your children are too young. But I'm telling you, unless you're a person that doesn't now, let me say this too. Some of y'all don't mind a mess. Some of y'all don't mind a messy house and you're okay with clutterness, with foods and trashes and stuff. No shade. If that's your vibe, power to you. That's just your vibe. There's no judgment here. But if that's not your vibe, if that really now it takes a toll on everybody whether you realize it or not, but if you're so hypersensitive and in tune that way or just literally a clean person, you're not going to like this. You're not going to like this if you do not prepare your children, if you do not prepare yourself for having patience, and if you don't get into the routine of creating a chart and making it a normal thing for your kids to clean up. Let's not make this a gender war thing. You have to clean as a human being. It's not that women need to know how to clean and yada, yada, yada. I am so big on this because I want my boys to be able to be men that can live in the home, live in their own home by themselves and cook their own food and clean up after themselves. And I want them to, whenever it is time for them to join with a woman and she maybe just had a baby, or just because that's their routine and their schedule, they can cook and they can clean and they can help out around the house and they can contribute every single day to domestic things, because that's what we got to do as human beings, especially if they're on a certain way where they're not just the ones that are going to work or having their business or whatever the scenario is. But I'm just so big on this because like our ancestors used to say, cleanliness is next to godliness. This is a virtue. This is a virtue that children should be taught, is cleanliness. Your children should know that when they go over someone's house, they need to be washing out their own dish, or at least rinsing it off. Now they should be doing that anywhere, anytime. They should be rinsing off their dish and not keeping food on their dish. But when they go over someone's house, they should know to make their bed. They should know. Now, me personally, my kids are not going over anybody's house. But I'm just saying, these are things that when it's time for them to leave the nest, they should have already known this. I always say the adults that we complain about, they're just children who were not taught how to human in a healthy way. I'm gonna say that again. The adults that we complain about are just children who were not taught how to human in a healthy way, because we should not be experiencing as adults times when we're allowing for our friends or our loved ones to stay with us, and these people don't clean up after themselves. These people don't take showers. These people are dirty as heck. These people just don't even care. They just leave in the toilet like this. They just leaving food on. We shouldn't be having these experiences. Why are we having these experiences? Because whoever was their guardians, whoever were the adults in their life, did not train them up from a very young age. Catch your children when they are still in that alpha state, between ages infancy and 7, maybe 8. This is according to neuroscience psychologists. Catch them when they're still in that alpha state of mind. These are the years that make up their personality. So you really want to start at least right before then. But I'm saying it doesn't, you don't have to be so strict about it, but it definitely needs to be before 10. Most definitely, you need to already have your children excited. And the good thing about this, and how you know, it's almost like the universe gives us a green light to do this, because at this age, this is normally when they're excited to help. This is normally when most children are excited to, if not help you clean, then definitely help you cook. So get them in the routine. Cooking is another thing. I teach my children discipline and control very, very young cooking. I mean, as young as 3 years old cooking. You can do that way younger than you can do cleaning. And I guess what I'm saying is like for real cleaning, but technically you can start cleaning at the same age, 3 years old. Clean up, clean up. This is normally how we start. Everybody, everywhere, right? Really young, you're picking up your blocks. Do that now.